How many of you have been in a situation where you have no idea what to do? You know things are going to get crazy. You know things are going to get bad. And it looks absolutely terrible for you. I have. So look, it tells you right here what to do. This is very simple, but it is very truthful. You need to remember, because in times of crisis and you don't know what to do, this is what you need to do. But through knowledge, the righteous will be delivered. Knowledge of what? The Bible, God, yeah. The knowledge of his word, the knowledge of who God is. God says, I have a plan and a destiny. Well, God didn't say that, Jeremiah. Well, God spoke through someone. Because if God didn't speak through someone, you would have never known. So, through knowledge of him, the righteous will be delivered. Through knowledge, the righteous will be delivered. When you are struggling or going through anything in your life where you have no idea what to do, you have no idea what to say, you don't even know how to be a witness, what you can do is you can say, God, I don't know what to do. I need your help. Show me, guide me, direct me, give me the wisdom, give me the correction, give me the course. Let's go to the next one. The one who guards his mouth. Say, guards his mouth. Come on, a little bit more. Guards his mouth. Preserves his life. The one who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. Good. Good. Now listen, when you're in a situation and you're in the school and your teacher is talking and they annoy you so much, all of a sudden something comes up inside that wants to say something smart back to that teacher, you need to shut up. I love you, but you need to shut up. In my workplace, when I have a coworker or my boss says something that I may not necessarily like, the last thing I need to do is to mouth off to him and tell him where he needs to go and what he can shove. I need to shut up. Plain and simple. You want to stay out of trouble? Learn to shut up. Because believe me, silence speaks louder than words. Someone comes up to you. Nick, I'll just you come up here. Just use you. Someone comes up to you, and you accidentally check them, and then they go, whoa, what's up, dude? You want to fight? You just be like, no, man, sorry. Some of y'all, you do this, you go, boom, it's like, oh, man, you want to fight? And all of a sudden say, yeah, man, I'll fight you. I'm going to beat you. Shut up, turn around, walk away. Someone's fighting over a boyfriend. Oh, girls, you better not be fighting over a boy. It goes both ways. And boys, you better not be fighting over a girl. Can I tell you what? If you got a fight like that, he ain't worth it. Move on down the road to the next dude because he's a dum-dum. You're good. Thanks, bro. Here's the thing. The one who, it's just so simple. The one who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. Who loves to talk? I love to talk. Who loves to talk? Teacher says, oh man, I bet you're such a dumb, da, 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 da. And then you come right back, well, I wouldn't be dumb if you weren't teaching me. Okay, you know what? It's easy to clap back real hard. So I had a mom who was king at comeback, so. But that is not the Christian way. That is not the way that God wants us to live. Especially to those who are not saved. Because your testimony, which you are living right now, is going to speak louder to words to the person who is not saved than the person who is saved. Because when you choose to respond in love and kindness, instead of reacting and opening your mouth, ruining your name and coming to ruin, your example is what may change or alter their course of life. because your actions are speaking louder than your words ever will. Let's go to the next one. From the fruit of a man's mouth. Ooh. Come on, say, my mouth. Say it again. My mouth brings forth seeds. Come on. Why? Because look, it says right here, from the fruit of a man's mouth, he enjoys good. But the desire of the treacherous is violence. How many of y'all love to fight? Be honest. Okay, let me rephrase that. How many of you love to start fights? Like, I'm going to beat you. Okay. I'm talking to you guys right now. Don't be treacherous. Seek peace. You know why? You know why you have a temper? I'm going to tell you this right now. You know why you have a temper and you have a fight and you have this thing inside you that says, I will win? It's because God has given you that desire. It's not bad. The fact that you got fight in you and you will fight for what is right, you will fight for what is yours, you guys are the ones who are going to lead the charge in changing lives and changing the kingdom. Why? Because you had that fight built into you for a reason. Guys, there are things that are instilled with you that you may not understand about yourself. Like, well, why am I just so like, all the time? Why am I like, I want to be right? Why am I like, I want to fight for what's mine? Because let's see, God has given you desires and you have to learn how to use it for him. God has given you things, gifts, and callings, and it may not seem like, well, why do I act this way? Why do I get angry? Why do I get passionate about something? Because God has instilled in you these character qualities that are good, but that need shaping and honing in and directing because you guys are going to change the world. Who wants to be treacherous? Yeah, I don't think. Who wants to be? Yeah, no, not that. Who wants to be peaceful, loving, kind? Let's go to the next slide. Yeah. You can still be fiery and peaceful and loving, kind. It's just like, man, God bless you. I'm going to bless your face off, and I'm going to hit you with, you know. You threaten, and it's, I'm just kidding, don't threaten. Was that the last one, RJ? That was the last proverb? Okay. So, now we get to the point where I was like, well, how in the world do I live this out? Like, practically. Like, that's so hard. Like, how do I do this? Thing is, you don't do this. You can't do it. You cannot do this in your own strength. You can't live righteously. You can't be kind. You can't do anything out of your own actions and wills. It is impossible for you to live this way unless, here we go, unless it is by God's grace. Because if you were to try and just be good on your own strength, that's not going to work. How many of you try to say, man, I'm not going to beat anybody up for a day. I'm just going to be so kind and loving. And the first person that comes to me, and someone says, what up, punk? And you be like, ah! Yeah. Romans 3:24. Being justified as a gift by his grace through the redemption which is in Jesus Christ. Are you able to expand that, RJ, to the verse before or after? Okay, you're good. If not, that's fine. So, being justified as a gift by his grace through the redemption which is in Jesus. Now, the only way that we can live a life that is fruitful, that is good, that is powerful, that is peaceful, that is geared towards the kingdom is through his grace. The way that we describe the way that we describe God's action and heart towards us, we call it grace. Well, what is grace? For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Thank you, RJ. What is grace? The Greek word for grace. The Greek word for grace is charis. Say charis. What does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? Does anybody know what that means? Okay. It's okay if you don't. Yes. Yes, that is what that means. Yes, very good, James. Witty, my friend. So, it is preeminently of the kindness by which God bestows favors even upon the ill-deserving, and grants to sinners the pardon of their offenses, and bids them accept of eternal salvation through Christ. The actions of God towards humanity is called grace. God wanted/wants to be with us, period. You know, in the very beginning, when he created Adam and Eve, he created them for fellowship. But what happened is that you had the enemy come in and deceive them. And what happened was that separation. And because God wanted to be, because God still spoke to man, but he wanted a face-to-face relationship. He wanted that intimate relationship with man. So from the very beginning, he started the plan to bring redemption in humanity, to bring that relationship back together. So you bring it all the way up. So we're going to go really fast. So it brings it all to the point of sending Jesus. For God so loved the world, gave his only begotten Son, whoever believes in him, not perish, have everlasting life. He sent his Son, went to heaven. He's like, all right, I can have a relationship with you again, but you got to come through my Son. You got to come through my Son. Now listen, you can't receive grace if you're perfect. You can't. If you think you're good enough, you're better enough, or there's some way that you can earn God's salvation, grace is not for you. Grace is not for you. Grace is for people who realize, like, man, I messed up. And I can't do it. And God's like, sweet. I'm glad you came to that realization. Come to my Son and you have a relationship with me. Confess him as the Lord and Savior, and we can have a relationship. Because you have to come to the realization that you don't got it. And see, it's hard as Christians to understand and receive God's grace. Because listen, God's grace doesn't stop just for salvation. It continues through the rest of our life. And so when we think, oh, how is God gracious towards me? Because listen, we get saved, but that doesn't mean like, okay, we trust God for salvation, and then that's it. Like, we have to trust him with our everyday lives. If we believe that God has the power to save us, we should also believe that God has the power to transform our lives and walk in loving and walk in the fruits of the Spirit. And walking and being an example. You know, one of the things I love is the Great Commission. That I started reading it and I realized, like, oh my goodness, like, why have I not, like it clicked. It's like these signs, and it says in Mark. Did I have that up there, RJ, in Mark? Nope, okay, that's fine. At the end of Mark, when he's giving the Great Commission, he says, these things will follow them that believe. Believe. Okay, so actually, you know what? It's going to be very important that we see this and notice this. Go to last chapter of Mark, RJ. Mark 16. 16. Mark 16, or 15, 16, 17. Sorry, 16, 17, my bad. Ooh. And he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Next verse. He who has believed and has been baptized shall be saved, but he who has disbelieved shall be condemned. Next. These signs will accompany. No, it's interesting because I looked up the word accompany, and that word means to pair along with. It goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. How many of you have a friend and it's like, oh, if I invite this person, well, I have to invite this person because they go hand in hand. Yeah. Like Kaylee and Asia. Hey, where's Kaylee? Oh, where's Asia? Where's Asia? You know, you know they're going to come in pair. Or I'm not going to go there. I'm going to start crying. I'm sorry. I brought up sad memories. Oh, sad memories. Okay. If everyone's wondering, yes, Vanessa, I'm sorry I brought that up, okay? Now it's in the air, and we love Vanessa. Vanessa, if you're listening to this, we love you, and I'm sorry for making you cry again. So, so here's the thing. The company means it goes hand in hand. There's not one without the other. So look at this. Linda, listen. These signs will accompany those who have believed. I'd say even those who believe and who have believed and who do believe. These signs will go hand in hand to those who believe. These signs, does it say might? These signs might, go along with. These signs, part of the time. No, it says these signs will accompany those who have believed. In my name, they will cast out demons. They will speak with new tongues. Next verse. They will pick up serpents, and if they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them. Don't go drink deadly poison. I'll break that down. They will lay hands on the sick, and they will recover. This is just a normal thing, to raise people from the dead and heal them. But unfortunately, in our culture, in our day and age, it's not. But this needs to become the normal. We need to catch a revelation and realize that it's only by God's grace that we are able to accomplish these things. His unmerited favor and love and kindness towards us allows us to be able to walk in life, in healing, in power, in authority. And I know I throw those words around a lot, like what? Power and authority? Like, okay, well, what does that mean? Power and authority? That means when you go into your schools and there's a problem and people are fighting, you have the power and authority by Jesus to say, like, hey, like, you guys need to stop. This is not okay. And it doesn't matter if they yell at you. You have the power and authority. And if you're not able to stop it, guess what? You can speak it out into existence. See, when you look at Jesus and how he came about, Jesus had to be prophesied about so that people would know he was coming. No one would be expecting him if God did not speak and prophesy and say, there's a Messiah coming. Because it's by his word that things come to pass. And when God speaks to you, that's why he had the prophets, because the prophets were so obedient that they would only say what God would tell them to say when he told them to proclaim something. That is a crazy amount of obedience. Crazy amount of obedience. Crazy amount of obedience. Now listen, in this day and age, you know what? I believe a lot of you guys hear God's voice, but you just don't even recognize it yet. I truly believe that. We heard a story I heard a story about, Samuel. It was Samuel, and how Samuel heard God's voice. He didn't recognize it, though. And he went to the priest that he was being mentored by. He went and say, hey, did you call me? Because in the middle of the night, it happened 3 times. Like, hey, did you call me? And the guy's like, no, go back to bed. And he's like, oh, okay. So Samuel goes back to bed, wakes up again second time. He's like, hey, did you call me? Like, no, go back to bed. Like, oh, okay. So he goes back, 3rd time, and he wakes up. And he goes to his mentor. Hey, I swear you're called. Did you call me? He's like, no, I did not call you. And then finally it dawned on him, oh my goodness, God is speaking to this kid and he can hear him. So he tells him, the next time you hear that voice, you say, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And listen, sometimes you may hear a voice in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day. You just feel this urge, or you just feel this tendency to do like this overwhelming compassion, or this desire in your heart that is good and pure, and you need to say, okay, Lord, speak. I'm here. I'm listening. And it may not necessarily be an audible voice, but it's this voice that you just feel like, I need to go pray for this person. Like a conscience, yeah. Like, but not. It's like, I need to just start praying right now for my friend at school. He seemed fine, but I'm feeling like he just wants to give up. So God, I just pray for him that he would, and you just start praying. Listen, it's not that you don't hear God's voice, it's just that you need to learn to recognize it because he is speaking to you. He's not silent towards you. He's not silent towards you in any way, shape, or form. And sometimes we have to quiet out the voices. We have to get away. We have to put ourselves in a place where we just can't hear anything but him. No. How many of you heard, like, oh, preachers, or actually, let me reverse. In order to walk in God's grace, you need to start receiving it. How do you receive that? God, I can't do this. Stop trying to do things in your own strength. Stop trying to be, I'm just going to be nice. I'm just going to be whatever it is. And you just totally leave God out of the equation. For instance, when you just mean, oh, I'm just not going to do this. Oh, I'm just not going to do this. I'm just going to be kind. Oh, I'm just going to be this way. So what does it look like to lean? So what does it look like practically to walk in God's grace? God, this person is making me so mad. I want to punch them in their face and just give me the strength. Give me the peace. Give me the guidance. I'm leaning into you. I'm trusting into you. And it's funny because I began to recognize that I needed to walk in God's grace. For whatever season in life you're in, oh, God, how do I hold a job? How do I be a good husband? How do I be a good dad? And instead of going to him, I go, well, maybe if I just read this book, and it's going to tell me the 7 ways that I can be a good dad, or the 7 ways that I can be disciplined, or I'm going to read a self-help book, and this is going to give me the answers that I need. And I'm putting my trust and reliance on something that someone has written instead of God's word. And what does his word say? How do you lean into God's grace? You lean into his grace by speaking the word and believing it. You lean into his grace by speaking it over your life. Listen, remember what I said about words? Expectation determines your destination. If you're not speaking that over yourself, if you're not speaking life, if you're not speaking peace, if you're not proclaiming the word over yourself, because here's the difference. Like, well, I'm just going to go to a self-help book. Well, a self-help book will only help you so much. When you speak God's word, his word, it says in 2 Timothy that his word is sharper than a two-edged sword, able to cut through bone and marrow. And his word is what changes you. With his word is what helps you rely on God's grace. His word is what allows you to walk in a constant state of his love and unmerited favor. Why is it important to walk in God's grace? Because if we try and be a Christian all by ourselves, it's not going to work out. It's hard. So, as we close, I want to play Cleese and close at the same time. So, guys, as we close now. Oh, no, you're good, dude. You're good, thank you. So I want to leave you with this. If you want to walk in God's grace, start speaking his word over yourself. And speak it out loud. Why? Because God spoke out loud and things came into existence. So why wouldn't we do the same? God spoke and the world was formed. If you want to see change in your life, you need to start expecting. You need to start expecting a change. You need to start catching yourself and realizing, what am I speaking over myself? You need to, if you have to write it down, write it down. Because listen, God's unconditional love and favor, and the cool thing about favor isn't fair. Favor is not fair. So whatever situation you're trying to overcome in, just realize that if you're relying on God, his favor isn't fair, and you will win every single time. Whether it seems like a loss or not, you will win every single time because God has your best interest. I know it's hard for some of us to understand, well, what does that look like? I've never had a parent that's given me interest into anything. I've never had anybody speak into my life that loves me or cares about me or even wants the best for me. So how do I know what that looks like? Well, I'm sorry. First of all, I'm sorry that that's happened. And the way that you're truly going to know is if you read the word. Because I can't read it for you. I can't read it for you. You guys have to find it for yourself. And I can pray for you, our leaders can intercede for you, and we can speak over you, but ultimately you've got to find it for yourself. You have to read the word. Look, here's what I do. I have this app called blueletterbible.org or BLB. And it's really cool because I can go in there and be like, and do a search. I'm like, I'm going to search grace. You know, grace is mentioned 114 times in the New Testament. I have ESPN. I'm playing the piano with my mind. I'm just kidding. But here's the thing. Look it's all right there. If you want to know, go search for it. Listen, you have, so think about this. Like there's the gold rush, okay? Gold rush back in the day in 18 or whatever. And people left everything in search for gold to become wealthy. They left everything. They uprooted all they had. They packed up their cow, their mother-in-law, the pigs, the goats, the dog, everything. Or they sold it, and the mother-in-law too. And then they went out. Just kidding. The thing is, they sold everything they had in order to go get it. And they didn't look back. They're like, well, I guess we got plan B. We can just come back to no. Like, you leave. That's it. And some of you haven't been taking, relationship with God seriously. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that like, hey, this is a wake-up call. If you want God and if you want to discover the treasure and grace that he has on your life, then you have to go after it with everything you've got. I'm still learning how to walk in God's grace. Sometimes I want to take it in my own hands, like, well, what if I do this in ministry? What if I play this right? Or what if I do this right? What if I make this business or what if I do that? And what happens is that I'm trying to vie for everything else instead of saying, God, what have you graced me to do right now? Where's the favor at in my life that I'm not walking in because I'm not submitting to you? See, favor follows when you're submitted. And you walk in favor when you're submitted to him. God, what college should I go to? Which friends should I hang out with? What lifestyle should I lead? And listen, this isn't like, I'm just going to change and change and change. Just follow God. So stop trying to change yourself and just follow God. Because you can't change yourself, only God can. You can't break your habits, only God can. Well, how is God going to break habits? By reading the Word, because the Word is what transforms your life. It is by his grace that we are able to access it and know about him. So you can know about his love and kindness and favor. Because he loves you. Even when you are being a distraction. He loves you. Go looking. Search the word. Because he wants to show you how awesome he is. But you'll never know if you never read. You'll never know if you never sit. You'll never know if you never pray and just listen to him. If you could just catch a hold of this, if you can just taste. That's the thing. Just taste and see that the Lord is good. How many of you been in a place where, like, I know I have, like, things are just absolutely terrible. I get this taste of just overwhelming peace of, like, I know that people are passing away around me. I know that this situation is stressful. I know whatever it may be, but I just, you know what? I'm just in perfect peace. And I know that God's going to work it out for good. Come on. Just by a show of hands, I want to see how many of you are going to commit. How many of you are going to commit to read and to search and to search and to search and to search until you understand and got it. And that's the thing. Even when you understand and got it, you're going to keep on wanting to search more and more and more. Come on, how many of you are going to be committed? Like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I want to understand God's grace in my life. Absolutely. God, you see these hands? And Father, I just pray that you would keep us committed. Father, I thank you that we'll keep each other accountable. And Father, I pray right now that we would just lean into your grace in every situation with our friends, with our family, that whatever it comes our way, that we would just totally and solely rely on you, Father. I pray for every instance, no matter what it may be. Even if it's just like, God, should I buy these pair of shoes? Even down to the most, what we may think is insignificant, God, but it's significant to you. Because we love you and we value your opinion, Father, above everyone else's. God, we commit right now to search your word until we get it. And then once we get it, we'll search more. In Jesus' name. Really quick, grace. What's the Greek word for grace? Say it out loud. Very good. In your own words, I want you to describe, what does charis mean? Everlasting life? Love? Anybody else? Yep. Undeserved gift. There we go. Forgiveness. Brian? Understanding and being kind and fair. Okay, so I'm gonna repeat myself again, not because just to repeat myself, but I really want us to get grace is God's unmerited love and favor towards us. Grace is God's unmerited love and favor towards us. How many of you have ever been in a situation where you didn't get what you deserve, but you got the good end of the bargain? And I should have got punished, I should have got grounded, but instead I get to go to this really cool place. I get to, I know that's a little bit difficult for us to understand. I think another way of saying it is that here's another viewpoint of God's grace is Jesus dying on the cross. That should have been us up there. That should have been us. But because of God's posture towards us, his loving kindness towards us, his grace, he's like, I'm going to put it all on my son. So that he gets what you deserve and you get what he deserves. So that he gets death and you get life. So that he gets corruption and you get fulfillment. So that he gets an endless hope and you get a destiny. So, I'm going to say it again. What is charis? What is charis? Grace. What does that mean? It could be the exact same thing I just said, but I just want us to lock it in. Yes? God's unmerited love and favor towards us. Yeah. Okay. With that, you guys are dismissed. I love you guys. If you have questions, our leaders are here, and we'd love to talk with you, or you need prayer. You guys have a blessed and wonderful week.